We're off to the races. I just went ahead and hit record.
Whoa, Shane.
Let's just jump right on
I
in.
usually do that. I don't know what just happened there.
Sorry.
Shane came in and we were like, let's get going. I was like, man, let's do this because I need coffee. We said we can't get coffee, although Shane is sitting here drinking a cup of coffee.
I was thinking ahead, Brad.
I committed this morning to coffee being a reward for doing the podcast.
This isn't my reward. This is sustenance.
I got you.
A latte.
Your tall latte is going to be
latte
your reward. Okay.
Is my reward.
Awesome. Well, Shane, what are we talking about today?
Well, Brad, I think what I was wanting to talk about is how we reprogram the subconscious mind. And like some practical tips that will allow us to do that and talk about why we might want to.
Okay, all right, that's my first question. I know you know a lot about this topic, so I'll probably learn something during this episode. Why would you want to reprogram your subconscious mind?
Sure. Well, first of all, let's talk about what a subconscious mind program is. And we've kind of talked about it in passing on previous episodes. Again, the way I understand it, just in my own personal study, I didn't go to school for psychology or anything like that. So this is like stuff that I've acquired over the years here. But ultimately, we pretty much have two minds, right? Not two minds, but like one mind with kind of two different aspects to it. One is the conscious mind, right? So like when you are fully awake, you are present in the moment, and you're having a conversation with somebody, or you're working.
So this isn't like the left brain, right brain type of thing. This isn't two brains. This is a different tier or a different layer of your brain.
I think everyone's kind of familiar with like the whole idea of like the conscious and subconscious mind. It's not two different minds, but it's like kind of two aspects of the same thing. So the conscious mind is like when you're aware, when you're talking, when you're thinking, when you're analyzing, when you're learning, like on purpose. Whereas the subconscious mind is kind of in charge of like your autopilot programs, right? So think about it. You don't make your heart beat, right? You don't make your eyes blink. Like you don't remember to do that.
Like instincts kind of thing, maybe.
That's part of it.
Mind. Okay.
Like you don't make your hair grow, right? It just kind of grows, right? So there's processes and bodily functions that are happening in the background that are ultimately controlled by this entity called the subconscious mind. But in addition to our bodily functions, our habits, both in like how we act and our behaviors that we express through the body, and our mental thoughts and behaviors, and like typically the way that we react to things. These are programs that have been installed in us over our entire life. And we just kind of go about most of our life according to these programs. So like, research has shown in the past few decades that like, I think they say upwards of 97% of what we do on a daily basis is due to actions taken by our subconscious mind. So it's pretty fascinating. So the whole concept of reprogramming the subconscious mind is looking at what are my habits, what are my typical behaviors, how is it that I react to things, and understanding what are things that help serve me and move me closer to my goals, right? And I think everyone's goal, I think at the end of the day, can be boiled down to wanting to be happy and content and fulfilled and loved. I know it's speaking pretty boldly, but I think ultimately everything comes down to that. So there are some programs that we've kind of installed in ourselves, whether on purpose or not. They either help us get to that goal or they move us away. And so reprogramming the subconscious mind is trying to identify where are the areas in my life where like these thought patterns, my behaviors, my habits move me away from my goals, and let me readjust those and have those align with me to bring me ultimately where I truly want to be. So that's kind of the whole concept behind it. And it's really high level. There's a lot more to it than that, but I think that's a good place to start.
So that's real interesting. So it's almost like a computer. So our mind is like a computer, and there's all of these tasks that are running on the computer.
It's amazing. I mean, like it really is amazing, the parallels.
So it's not really.
System.
So if you think about it, it's just utility tasks that are running in the background, like you turn on your computer. Your computer knows what time it is. Your computer knows to connect to the internet. Your computer knows to do all these things. So there are things that your computer is doing. It's very much like the mind or the subconscious mind. It's just doing them because those are things that you've told the computer to do, and it's something that it needs to do over and over and over again.
Exactly. And
so when we're talking about, or you're talking about, things that are good or bad, those could be like a bad piece of software, malware is installed on the computer and it's doing something bad, or you've installed a computer program with good intentions, but it's taking up all of the memory. So when we talk about reprogramming, it's analyzing those program tasks that are happening. I'm just trying to build some basic association here.
Well, the way I understand it too, and let me just kind of back up here, is so before I was talking about, there's like good and bad programs. Well, good and bad, I mean, a lot of it is all relative, right? Your subconscious mind, God ultimately created it to help keep you alive, right? And so it's a system that it gets told, by your conscious mind, ultimately, what you perceive as good for you and bad for you. Your subconscious mind doesn't care about good and bad, what's true, what's false. It's kind of like a field, right? It'll take whatever seed you plant in it. It doesn't really matter. It's up to your conscious mind to kind of be the gatekeeper. So the programs installed in there are not really good or bad. They kind of just are, right?
Well, no, I guess that's what, from basic association, is the computer itself doesn't know whether the software installed on it is good or bad.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, you can even take something as simple as porn, right? A porn addiction. A porn addiction is something that your conscious mind convinces you that you want or is good, and you just put that in your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is what's creating the addiction, right? So it's, I need to see this porn. I need to see this porn. We're talking about reprogramming.
Yeah, it's a habit that was installed.
Exactly. So the subconscious mind, when we're talking about reprogramming, is going in and fixing that program that's in your subconscious mind to fix that addiction, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be porn. It can be anything.
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. We also have good habits and we have good addictions, right?
Right. We talked about that in the previous episode.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's kind of up to our conscious mind to analyze, and that's its goal, is to analyze and essentially be the gatekeeper with, for what gets into those sub-levels and gets put on autopilot. So there's a lot of different techniques that we can do, when you analyze, hey, I have this bad habit, or if I really look at my life, I have this pattern that whenever I start doing this, it kind of triggers this, this chain of events that typically ends up being really, really bad for me. And a lot of those trigger points or whatever, it begins by a thought pattern, right? It's a difference between a lot of people, right? I mean, some people go into traffic and they see that as a great thing, right? Because it's like, hey, I have all this time to myself. I have solitude. I can listen to my favorite songs. Other people, it just, when they get in traffic, it triggers very negative effects, and it kind of puts their whole day in a terrible light.
Okay, so we've defined the subconscious mind, the conscious mind. Basically, the subconscious mind knows what's right or wrong. The subconscious mind is basically just doing tasks, right? Just over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. It's our
all right. So now that we've defined that, so in order to reprogram it, I guess there has to be a sense of awareness, right? So can we quickly talk about like making yourself aware? How do you know you need to change your subconscious mind?
Well, a lot of it's just self-reflection, right? And it's just kind of looking at, it's as simple as looking at your day, right? You don't have to look at your entire life and analyze, what are the steps I took to get here? I mean, you can definitely do that, and it's kind of encouraged that, every once in a while you do, but you can even look at your day, right? what good happened today, what bad happened today, and analyze, what caused this good thing to happen, like what did I do, what's my routine that I'm going through, and what actions kind of led up to these different points throughout the day. And once you can kind of identify those good or bad outcomes, right, you can kind of trace it back ultimately to a like a starting point, right? There's some sort of trigger point, or there was a thought that occurred in your mind, or something along those lines, and it led to that outcome. So just kind of analyzing your day, and then every now and then kind of analyzing your life, or like, how did I get to the job I'm at right now,
Right, so this kind of goes back to the DMP, right, or the definite major purpose,
Yep.
right? So if you guys haven't heard our episode on the DMP, please go back and listen to that, because a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here kind of plays into that. What Shane is talking about is defining your life's purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have that purpose, and this is the reason why we stress in that episode that it's so important to define your DMP, is your DMP is what's going to allow you to self-reflect,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to make you aware of what you're doing right and wrong to keep you on track to your DMP.
Exactly.
So now that we've defined that, Shane, let's talk about how in the world do we reprogram our subconscious mind.
Sure. And one thing I was just going to add to that as we get into it, it's not just, hey, we have this definite major purpose, and let's analyze like the actions I've taken, and am I moving towards that goal or am I not? But it's also just kind of states of mind as well that you should be analyzing too. Your thought patterns and your mood that you hold on a consistent basis, that a lot of that comes from subconscious programs like running in your mind. I mean, like, analyze yourself right now. Like, are you excited right now about your day? Are you excited about the next 5 years and what's coming to you? Or are you fearful? Are you anxious? Are you worried? So these are also really important things to realize about your mentality, and realizing, hey, like, if I'm worried all the time, that's a problem, because worry is just fear of the unknown. And what do they say? Like, I can't remember. I remember hearing Earl Nightingale give some statistics where it's just like, I don't know, upwards of like 90% of the things we worry about are either like irrational, they most likely will never ever happen, they're unrealistic, or they're never as bad as you think they are. So there's only like there's a very small percentage of the things we worry about that are legitimately deserving of, like, the attention of our thoughts and everything. So
that is a very good point that you bring up there, Shane, because I mean, in the title of our podcast and what we're doing and what this project is, it's all about intentional positivity, mm-hmm. right? So that's a very good point. So it's about being intentional,
exactly,
and being positive.
So you're asking, like, how can we do it? Well, I think, so the way I do it, right, and there's a lot of different ways that you can reprogram your subconscious mind, but the first thing to do is just kind of realize how it works, right? The subconscious mind, like I said before, is like a field. It doesn't care what you plant in it, but whatever you do plant in it, and the seeds ultimately are your thoughts, right? That you plant on a consistent basis, and not just that you plant, but that you also nurture, right? So your field will grow poison, like poison oak or poison ivy. It'll also grow like tomatoes or apple trees or whatever. It doesn't really care. So the first thing is realizing it. This is how the subconscious mind works. It's also kind of like a wood fire stove, right? It's like you would never look at a wood fire stove and say to it, give me heat, and then I'll add the wood, and the fuel and the fire. No, that's not how it works. So you got to understand that, like, reprogramming your subconscious mind is like planting a seed, in that when you plant a seed in the ground, it doesn't just grow instantly, right? There's faith on our part that we know that when we plant this seed, as long as I give it water, make sure it doesn't, like, it's not in a climate that's going to get too cold and damage it. If it gets plenty of sunlight, it's going to grow in time. So you got to kind of understand that your subconscious mind, when you're reprogramming it requires gradual work on a consistent basis, and and once you kind of understand that, it gets a little bit easier to kind of motivate yourself to reprogram these subconscious like behaviors and things like that. So one of the ways to do that is through using affirmations. And a lot of times this makes people skin crawl because they just feel like they're constantly lying to themselves. But for those of you who don't know, an affirmation is basically a statement where you say aloud and with authority, like say if you're just like angry all the time, right? Or you're just super anxious, right? An affirmation is to say something like, I am calm in this instant. And then you repeat that kind of over and over. And when you're saying that, if you say it with intention and you say it with feeling and you believe it's true, what happens is gradually it starts becoming a reality, right? So affirmation, I mean, there's not much value in just saying like if you're just super pissed off or you're anxious, it's like, okay, I'm calm, I'm so calm, I'm the calmest person. No, that's not how it works. But you have to really mean what you're saying and put emotion behind it.
So this is like what do they call it? Geez, I just had it on the tip of my tongue. So affirmation. So this is well, go on, Shane. It'll come to me here in a second.
Sure. So the idea is through saying out loud, believing something is true, and putting emotion behind it. What it's going to do is it's going to slowly just kind of like drip there into your subconscious mind. What typically tends to get down into those lower levels are thoughts that are charged with emotion. So like you might be like super pissed off, right? Or like upset about traffic, right? And if you're trying to get to the point where you're developing a habit of being calm in those situations, a lot of times what you can do is when you're trying to form these good thought habits, look back at a point in your life where you were very calm, right? Think of a memory of a time when you were especially like serene and content and comfortable and just not worried and everything is going to be okay. There might not be many moments like that in your life possibly, but like there are some, right? You just have to look for them. So the idea is find that moment and then allow yourself to relive it, right? Find out what those feelings were that you were experiencing at those times. And then when you're using the affirmations like I'm calm, what you want to try to do is evoke those feelings that you had back in that moment. Allow yourself to feel it, and then when you are saying those words and you're feeling those feelings, it gets more believable that it's having an effect. And when you do this through repetition over and over, what this is going to do is it's going to start changing your character in a lot of ways, and you are going to start predominantly being more of a calm person. And that anxiety that used to grip you before, that worry that used to grip you before, is it's just not going to have the same effect that it used to. And in addition to just like worry and anxiety, you could do the same thing with if you're a person who maybe people consider you cold, or you don't have a lot of friends, or you just have a hard time in social situations because people don't consider you warm. It's really amazing the transformations that people who have said affirmations to the opposite have, the results that have happened. People say, I'm a warm person. Every day, I'm getting more and more enjoyable to be around. And again, like as you're saying this kind of stuff, you're believing it. You're allowing yourself to believe it, because whenever there's belief and there's emotion behind a statement, it's like planting seeds in your in your garden, so to speak, of your subconscious mind. And with constant repetition, on a daily basis, right? I mean, even just like 5 minutes a day doing this kind of stuff, over time of daily use, and you got to do it without fail, right? That's like nurturing the seed. It's going to grow after its kind. And here's the thing that's so awesome about your subconscious mind and these programs that you're installing in yourself. What's so amazing is that like it's very hard to uninstall those programs, right? So like people think, developing a new habit, is very hard. Well, I mean, it definitely can be, but the nice thing is, and something to kind of motivate you, is it's worth the effort, because once you can install these positive mental habits and approaches, it's very difficult to turn them off or revert back to where you were.
Right. So I know recently I've done some of this, and it's kind of how I've gone from waking up very early in the day and going from waking up very late in the day to now going back to waking up very early in the day. Is number one, it's very difficult to try to figure out how to do that, right? So it's okay, set an alarm. Okay, well, that's easy. Well, the alarm goes off. Okay, first time, second time, maybe it's very easy because it's something that you want to do. Third time, oh man, I'm tired. I want to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm just not used to this. But over time, I have learned how to do this and make it even easier for myself, because I start associating things throughout my day. Well, I feel better. Mm-hmm. Because when I get up at 4:30 in the morning, the very first thing I do is I go and I run, or I jog, or I hit the elliptical for an hour, mm-hmm. and I sit in the sauna. Well, it's like, okay, well, that's great at 4:30 in the morning, but I got to get up at 4:30 in the morning. So then I start realizing like how better my day is, and then I start looking at all the little bitty things that happen in my day, because now I'm up earlier. I'm no longer rushed. I can say a prayer in the morning. Mm-hmm. I can have these self-affirmations. I can reflect. I can think. I can write things down. I can do all these things in the morning that make my day better. Mm-hmm. And so once I start realizing that these things are leading up to a better life, and these things are making me more aware of what's going on, and I'm able to handle my day much easier, it becomes much easier to begin to associate what is happening, because I'm putting these things in place. And it all starts with these affirmations of telling myself, this is what I want to do, this is what I see myself doing, and here's why I see myself doing them.
Exactly. So now there's a lot of other techniques that you can do to reprogram your subconscious mind, but another really important one that's really easy to pick up, even like if you're listening to this, you can pick it up tonight if it's not already a habit for you, is realizing that when we sleep, the subconscious mind does not sleep. A lot of times, you might have even had an experience in your life where you go to sleep and you've had some kind of problem, that you've been trying to deal with, like at work or in a personal project or whatever. And you might even wake up with the answer all of a sudden, right?
Right.
Well, it's amazing how the subconscious mind works, because it kind of sees everything. It's able to see combinations of things and solutions that your conscious mind, because it's so limited in its scope, what it can see in the moment, it's amazing what the subconscious mind can bring to the surface whenever the conscious mind kind of gets out of the way a little bit, right? So there's this pretty amazing technique that works wonders for people. It's worked wonders for me, actually. This is something I do every night that kind of helps change the outlooks I have in different areas of life, which I don't think are necessarily serving me, right? It's let's take the area of money, right? They say one of the reasons that people have such a hard time struggling for money is because there's some kind of aversion to it for whatever reason. A lot of times, it's religious reasons, right? Or someone of authority or something they heard in their childhood maybe convinced them that money is evil or something like that, which is, I think completely false. We can talk about that, a lot more in depth later. But the point is, if you're trying to change your particular attitude about something, or maybe you just want to be a happier person and you're just not as happy, right? Well, right before you go to sleep and right before you wake up are the opportune times to allow auto-suggestion, which is it's almost kind of another word for self-hypnosis. And I know that kind of has that might even have a negative kind of connotation to a lot of people listening, but the idea is you're just reprogramming your subconscious mind. You're reinstalling a new program in there. So right before you go to sleep and right after you wake up, you're kind of hazy, right? The conscious mind kind of gets out of the way. And so it's a lot easier for these thought seeds to get inside your subconscious mind and start, taking root, right? So what you can do right before you go to sleep is, if you're, just say you're trying to be a happier person, just like realize, like, you can say to yourself as you're falling asleep, like, I'm alive right now, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so happy right now in this moment. So many good things are on their way to me right now, and I believe it because so many good things have come to me already, and there's no reason that's going to stop. And because of that, I'm so happy. It's just, you can say these things to yourself, as you're falling asleep. And again, it's not just enough to say it. You have to allow yourself to believe it, right? And so what you'll find is that, like, as you fall asleep saying these affirmations, or even just really powerful words, like going to sleep and saying words like, happiness, health, peace, prosperity, wealth, success, like all, just like saying these over and over and kind of emotionally charging them, they tend to get into your subconscious mind. And then what you'll find is, like, through daily use and doing this, those seeds that you planted are going to start growing. And what I would say as well is, try not to focus on the weeds that you're necessarily trying to uproot, right? Like these bad habits you're trying to change, or these thought patterns you're trying to adjust. Rather than focus on the bad pattern and you're trying to stop the bad pattern, your mind is focused on there, right? They say we tend to receive the things that we focus on. So instead, focus on the good. If you plant these good seeds and nurture those, what's going to happen is, over time, those weeds that have grown are going to be choked out by the amount of good crop, right? That's growing. So focus not on the bad habit, and I got to change the bad habit and get rid of the bad habit. It's like, no, I need to form the good habit. I need to focus on the good habit. I need to nurture the good habit. And eventually, these old thought patterns that you used to have, you're going to find that they're just going to just kind of die away. So it's important to remember, just kind of summing up here, repetition. It's not enough to just like say these affirmations one time. You have to make it a habit. You have to do it on a consistent basis without fail. So you have to repeat it, and then as you're saying it, belief and emotion are huge factors. Now that doesn't mean you have to be like jumping and screaming off the rooftops if you're trying to make yourself happier, right? But it's important to remember a memory when you were especially happy. Capture that feeling, and as you're saying the affirmations where you're trying to install this happiness program in you, right? Remember like that feeling and kind of evoke that feeling as you're saying these affirmations. So that's worked wonders in my life, and it's really helped with my sense of like determination in my life, and I think it'll be really effective for you as well.
Wow, very good information, Shane. Very good.
And so one little challenge, just to make this practical in your life too, what I encourage you to do is, they say it takes about 30 days for a habit to form.
30 days,
right?
okay.
30 days for a habit to form. So what I encourage you to do, and I'll do this myself. Let's see, what is it? It's, what's the date today?
It is the 27th of September, 2017.
Is it 2017 already? When did that happen? So one of the things, and I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to figure out what to do, but I'm going to make a 30-day challenge.
30-day challenge.
30-day challenge. So like just
the first ever IP2 30-day challenge.
30-day challenge, and so we'll revisit this on the 27th of October, if that's 30 days from now. Whatever 30 days in, we'll check back in.
What okay, you have me on pins and needles here, Shane. Okay. What is the challenge?
So the idea is find a mental habit or a view of a particular thing that maybe could be considered like negative, right? And the idea is to reinstall a new program through repetition over 30 days. So let's say like your habit is kind of laziness or procrastination, right? Make a habit for 30 days, you're going to say, what I'm going to do today is when I wake up, I'm going to wake up at the first moment of my alarm, no matter how tired I am. I'm going to get up and I'm going to give of myself in my work, in my family relationships, in my friendships, in my personal projects. I'm going to give of myself more than I ever have. And I'm just going to make it, and you know what that is. You know how like hard you work or whatever. So the idea is for 30 days, be intentional about I'm going to overcome procrastination. And you say that I'm going to do it. Declare it. Like you self-prophesy for yourself, right? When you tend to declare it and you say it with meaning and emotion, your habits and your tendencies tend to get out of the way of that kind of confidence, right? So you have to be intentional about it, but make it a 30-day challenge that you're going to break one of your bad habits.
Cool.
And use these subconscious techniques that we talked about.
Very interesting. Well, Shane, that's really cool. Our first 30-day challenge. So we are just about out of time. So let us know what your 30-day challenge is in the comments. If you want to email us, feel free to email us at podcast@intentionallypositiveproject.com. We're going to try to get a shorter domain, so it's much easier to type that in. But we're looking for your feedback. How are things going? What do you want to hear? Let us know about your 30-day challenge and what you are going to try to improve upon in your life. Anything else that you want to add?
I think we're good. We'll figure out what our challenges are going to be for us too, and we'll keep you guys posted on how those are going.
Very good. Yes, look for those on the website. All right, guys. Shane has just finished his entire cup of coffee. I think that kept him going throughout the entire podcast. I faded off about halfway through. It's coffee time. All right, guys. Until next time.
Brad and Shane out.
Bye.